Thank you, Chairwoman Johnson. This morning, we're considering three bills, and I wish I could say that all of the bills under consideration were bipartisan, but unfortunately, I cannot. Over the last 3 years, we've worked together on the Science Committee to produce thoughtful, consensus legislation to advance the competitiveness of the United States and to address national goals. We've been deliberate and collaborative in drafting our legislation. Since I became a ranking member, I've made it a priority to return this committee to an atmosphere of mutual respect where we can work together to achieve our shared goals. My friend Chairwoman Johnson has been a tremendous partner in this effort, and I think our results speak for themselves. We've passed dozens of bipartisan bills on research and development, conservation, STEM education, advanced technologies. Last year, we passed the first comprehensive update of our energy policy in more than a decade. This year, we developed landmark R&D bills to double our basic research investments at NSF, DOE, and NIST. This kind of valuable legislation doesn't always make the most headlines, but it makes a real difference. We're able to do this because we don't operate like other committees. And while we may not be able to reconcile our differences on every bill that we consider, we aren't trying to score political points against each other. Two of the three bills on the agenda today are truly bipartisan committee products that have been through our usual collaborative process, with committee staff working across the aisle and alongside all members of this committee to develop good proposals. The PRECIP Act and the NWR Weather Radio Modernization Act are thoughtful bills, which have been informed by stakeholder feedback and involved extensive discussions and negotiations between our staff. I'll discuss those bills more when they're brought up for consideration. Unfortunately, the National Wildland Fire Risk Reduction Program Act has not been through that process. Wildfires are a critical issue in the West and Midwest. Members on both sides of the aisle want to do productive work to mitigate their damage. So this could have been a productive and bipartisan bill. Instead, the bill was developed behind closed doors with little input from Republicans on the committee. The behind-the-scenes partisanship on this bill was unnecessary, unprecedented, and counterproductive to a healthy legislative environment at this committee. Instead of working together, Republican staff weren't given the bill draft text until just days before it was introduced. We were given little opportunity to provide input or improve ahead of the time. So that's why we'll be offering a number of amendments today. The process didn't have to be this way. Wildfires know no political boundaries. I can't think of a more pressing issue for members in the West. I would have thought an issue like this could rise above politics. It would be addressing preventing and reducing wildfires, saving lives and property. For instance, California Representative Mike Garcia has been a leader on this issue on our committee, a member with a district deeply impacted by wildland fires and a prime example of the urban wildland interface. He introduced a bipartisan bill in August, the Fire Information and Reaction Enhancement Act, or the FIRE Act. His legislation improves NOAA's wildfire forecasting capacities and was developed with input from NOAA and the support of numerous stakeholders. It has bipartisan support, and a number of Democrats have co-sponsored it. It's unfortunate that this bill could not have been incorporated into legislation today, but the gentleman will offer an amendment to do so later in the markup. Now, I understand that this partisanship, I should say, is typical for some committees in Congress, but I believe the Science Committee can and should be better than that. Members like serving on the Science Committee because we're the fun committee, tackling the problems of the future. Let's not lose sight of our committee's mission to harness innovation to improve the lives of all Americans. So that all being said, today's markup is going to take a little longer than it should have. We have a number of members offering thoughtful, productive amendments to try and improve the underlying legislation. We'll get through today's markup, and then I look forward, hopefully, moving ahead for the rest of the Congress together to advance science and technology. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back the balance of my time.